There is a Medal of Honor citation I have read more times than I can count. It runs several paragraphs. It describes what a 28-year-old co-pilot did over Hannover, Germany, on the morning of July 28, 1943. Except the date is wrong. The citation says July 28th. The 92nd Bomb Group's official records say July 26th. The Air Force Historical Support Division sorted it out later. That is not what stops me when I read it. What stops me is a line from Morgan himself, said years later. He said, "There's no such thing as a hero. I was pushed into circumstances where I was forced to act." Flight Officer John Cary Morgan believed that. He believed it after he flew a shattered B-17 for 2 hours with one hand on the yoke and the other holding a dying man off his own throat. This is his story. Morgan was 28 years old on the morning of the raid. He had been born in Vernon, Texas, in 1914, the son of a small-town attorney. He had wanted to fly since college. He had learned to fly in a civilian aircraft in Austin, dropped out of school, and worked for 4 years on a pineapple plantation in the Fiji Islands. When he came back to the United States and tried to enlist, the U.S. Army Air Corps rejected him. Old neck injury. Graded 4F, not fit for service. So Morgan went to Canada. He enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force in August 1941. He trained in Saskatchewan and Ontario, then in England. When the Americans finally caught up to him in March 1943, he was already a sergeant pilot flying with RAF Bomber Command. The USAAF took him at the warrant rank of flight officer and posted him to the 326th Bombardment Squadron, 92nd Bomb Group at RAF Alconbury. July 26, 1943, was his 5th combat mission for the Americans. The target was the Nordhofen rubber plant at Hannover. 60 B-17s from 3 groups made up the first element of the raid. No fighter escort. The bombers were expected to protect themselves. That summer, they usually could not. Morgan was flying right seat in a B-17F, serial number 42-29802, called Ruthie II. His aircraft commander was First Lieutenant Robert Campbell. It was Campbell's 5th mission too. The formation crossed the North Sea in the standard climb, working up to bombing altitudes somewhere above 20,000 feet. Near the German coast before the initial point, the Focke-Wulf 190s came in. They attacked from the front. That was the tactic that year. A frontal pass gave a Luftwaffe pilot maybe 2 seconds of tracking time on a B-17. But the closing speed meant the American gunners in the top turret and the nose had almost no time to answer. It worked more often than it should have. A cannon shell went through Ruthie II's windshield. Another round, a .303 caliber shell, hit Campbell in the head. It split his skull. Campbell fell forward on the control wheel. His arms clamped around it. The aircraft started to roll. Morgan grabbed the yoke from the right seat. He hauled the B-17 back level using every pound of leverage he had. He got the airplane back into its slot in the formation. What he did not know yet was that the same burst of fire had destroyed the interphone system. It had also knocked out the oxygen supply to the tail, waist, and radio gun positions in the back of the aircraft. He also did not know what was about to happen next. Campbell was not dead. A .303 through the skull will kill a man, eventually. It had not killed him yet. What it had done was destroy whatever part of a man makes decisions. Campbell came back to consciousness in the state the citation calls crazed. He tried to fly the aircraft. He fought Morgan for the controls. When Morgan held him off, Campbell started punching. The punches broke some of Morgan's teeth. They blackened both of his eyes. They kept coming. Behind them, in the top turret, Staff Sergeant Tyre Weaver had taken a 20mm shell in the shoulder. It tore his left arm off at the joint. Weaver fell out of his turret and rolled through a hatch into the navigator's compartment below. He was bleeding into what remained of his flight suit. Second Lieutenant Keith Koski, the navigator, found him. Koski reached for the morphine syringe. The needle was bent. He could not get it into Weaver's skin. He tried to stop the bleeding by hand. He could not. The arm was gone too close to the shoulder to tie off. What Koski did next is the part I keep coming back to. He clipped Weaver's parachute onto him. Then he pushed him out of the aircraft over occupied Germany. He was betting that a German medic on the ground could do more for Weaver than he could at bombing altitude with a bent needle. He bet right. Weaver was captured, moved to a Luftwaffe hospital, and lived out the war. None of this was known to Morgan in the cockpit. The interphone was dead. The gunners in back had gone silent. Morgan could not tell whether they were dead, unconscious from oxygen loss, or had bailed out. He was flying with his left hand on the yoke and his right forearm across a semi-conscious, dying man who kept trying to seize the controls. His windshield was gone. He could barely see forward. There was a decision available to him. Campbell was on the aircraft's oxygen system. Morgan could reach across, disconnect Campbell's oxygen line, and let anoxia put him to sleep. It would have been simpler. It might have saved Morgan 2 hours of a fistfight. He did not do it. Which is to say, a flight officer named John Morgan, on his 5th mission, made the decision not to hasten the death of his own aircraft commander for his own convenience. Then he made the second decision, the one that got him the medal. He decided to continue the mission. What that meant, in practical terms, was this. Hannover was still ahead. The bomb run had not started. Morgan chose to fly a shattered B-17, one-handed, in formation, with a dying man attacking him every few minutes, for the 2 hours it would take to reach the target, drop, and turn for the coast. He did it because he did not know whether there were still living men in the back of his airplane. And if there were, the formation was the only thing keeping them alive. Formation flying was the only air defense the 8th Air Force had that summer. He held station through the initial point and through the bomb run. Ruthie II dropped her bombs on Hannover. It was only after the target that Koski came forward from the nose compartment. Between them, Koski and the bombardier, Asa Irwin, wrestled Campbell out of the left seat and moved him below. Morgan flew the airplane back to England alone. He landed at RAF Falsham with every fuel gauge reading empty. The 5 gunners in the back of the aircraft were alive. They had regained consciousness as the formation descended into thicker air. They came out of the airplane suffering from frostbite. Campbell was still breathing when the ambulance arrived. He died about 90 minutes later. Ruthie II never flew a combat mission again. She was declared damaged beyond economical repair. Morgan was awarded the Medal of Honor by Lieutenant General Ira Eaker on December 18, 1943. He had been promoted to second lieutenant a month earlier. He asked to stay in combat. He transferred to the 482nd Bomb Group, a Pathfinder unit flying radar-equipped B-17s. On March 6, 1944, on the first major American raid against Berlin, an 88mm flak shell hit his aircraft. 6 of the 10 men aboard died. Morgan bailed out. He spent the rest of the war at Stalag Luft I in Barth, Germany. He was the only man who ever received the Medal of Honor and then became a prisoner of war afterward. The record blames the Focke-Wulf pilot who opened up on Ruthie II for what happened to Campbell. The record does not blame Campbell for the punches. That much the record gets right. What the record does not say is what Morgan said about it afterward. He said when they asked him that there was no such thing as a hero, he said he had been pushed into a place where he had to act, and he had acted. He said he thought most people put in that seat would have done what he did. I don't fully agree with him. I've read the record. I've read what he did. Most people would not have done that. But Morgan believed it. That has to count for something. John Cary Morgan died on January 17, 1991, at a hospital in Nebraska. He was 76 years old. He is buried at Arlington. The Medal of Honor citation still says July 28, 1943. The 92nd Bomb Group's operations records still say July 26, 1943. Both dates are on file. Both dates are official. Both dates cannot be true. I have read the citation 3 times. What I keep thinking about is the flight surgeon in Canada who cleared a Texan the U.S. Army had rejected, and the .303 shell on a morning the record cannot agree on that ended one man's war and started another man's argument with the word hero.